Greetings, fellow seekers of role-playing enlightenment. It is I, the OGGM. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the 18th day of February 2022. It's 65 degrees and sunny here as we begin baseball spring training. Yes. And we're going to talk about shopping. Oh, yes. Shopping. Because it inevitably happens in your game, and so what are some tips I can give to you after, how many years I've been doing this hobby and seen multiple shoppings. And I think you've heard my story about the shopping trip that ruined an entire campaign. If you haven't, I might repeat it again someday. But it's a dangerous precipice to the idea of giving the player characters money and letting them loose on a town looking for stuff, because it can take up a lot of time. There can be stuff that they're looking for that you didn't think about, and then they get very obsessed over finding this, especially if it's magic stuff. There's the whole thing like encumbrance and how are you carrying this stuff and how much of this stuff did you bring with you, and are you the kind of DM who says, if you've got to write it down on your character sheet or you don't have it, or are you kind of the DM that says, well, okay, I know you bought it because I remember running, so if you don't have it written down, well, whatever, we're just going to assume you have it or you don't have it. Now, I'm a very much, especially at D&D, you need to write it down. I keep immaculate notes of everything my characters are carrying and everything my characters have bought and everything my characters have sold and how they're, where that stuff is being stored if he doesn't have it on him. Because, I've run into multiple scenarios where the DM was like, oh, do you have rope? And I was like, well, I don't have rope written down. I'm like, oh, well, I guess you don't have rope. And I know in the game I've been running lately, they forget to go get even basic stuff all the time. They just go off on an adventure and then they're like, oh, blah, blah. I'm like, did you bring rope? And they're like, no, we didn't bring rope or torches or food. So you want to have some level of shopping, but you don't want to have too much shopping because you don't want to have the campaign spiral down to just shopping and just them looking for the next best thing to give them that edge that they think they need. Oh, I don't have enough +1 whatever, what widget-macallits. Is there a way I can get a +2 widget-macallit? Oh, I only have 9. Is there a way I can get 10? Especially when you're dealing with magic items, and if there's a magic shop, which I don't know if there should be a magic shop. I know a lot of times, especially in older games, if you looked at the way the amount of money a city could generate, it sort of led you to believe that it could generate magic items. And then you're like, okay, where is these magic items coming from? There must be a shop. Well, really, think about it. Who has enough excess magic items to sell them on a regular basis? I mean, maybe potions, maybe scrolls, but other than that, it takes a lot of time and energy to either make a magic item or a lot of time and energy to find a magic item. I mean, at best, a magic item should be something you come across very rarely, very specific to a certain type of shop. Like you might find a magic sword in a blacksmith if somebody sold it to the blacksmith for whatever reason. You might find a magic, who's it in the store that with the merchant that sells who's it, but really the only reason that you would ever find that in most cases is because somebody sold it. And how often do people sell magic items even if they can't use them? You're going to hold on to it more often than not because, you might need it. So I would say probably in rare occasions, never ever have a shop that just sells magic items. Where did you get these from? You don't need to know. I didn't rob a bunch of player characters in another town. Unless it's a plot device, like I just said. Now, if it's a plot device and there is a guy selling magic items or supposed magic items, then that could be a plot device to an adventure. Yeah, he robbed a town and robbed a whole bunch of player characters, came over to this town and he's selling it. Or they're fake magic items. That could be a thing. If they're going to go shopping, be prepared and make it very clear that if, this is what's in the town, and if what you're looking for isn't listed, I'm not magically going to have it sometime appeared. And don't let the shopping dominate the adventure unless that's the theme of that adventure. If you have a city adventure planned and they want to go shopping, that might be a good time to drop the city adventure on them. But unless that's something you really, 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 really have planned and want to do for at least a session, possibly longer, of actually playing out every shopping experience and giving each individual the amount of time they need, well, you need material components, and you need that stuff, and you need a 51-foot of rope, and so I'm going to give you each enough time to do the shopping. And how am I going to make this interesting and compelling and exciting stories, or it's just going to be, let's play merchant sim where you spend this much gold to get this many widgets because you think you might need these things, even though chances are everything you encounter on the adventure is going to be as good or better than anything you can buy in the town, but we also need to know that you have brought along at least, food and rope and fire building gear and the tools of the trade. But yeah. And then of course there's all right, fine, I'm going to let you buy it, but I'm eventually going to take it away. Because nothing gets rid of nothing allows the DM to get rid of player characters' money like allowing them to buy a whole bunch of stuff, like say a wagon or a horse or whatever, and then taking it away. I am notoriously evil about killing off horses and killing off pets and blowing up wagons, and you just spent all this money building your portable blacksmith forge, and yeah, I'm taking that away. I'm excited that I found a way for you to waste your money and buy a whole bunch of shit and buy a horse and buy a wagon and buy a donkey, and you've got everything, all this adventuring gear all kitted out on your horse and your wagon and your donkey. I'm so taking it away. But again, if they're clever, and they have planned out everything and they have everything listed and they've got an inventory, and the inventory is stuff that they could help them with the adventure and stuff you didn't think of, why is he buying a bag of flowers? I'm going to use a bag of flour to throw on the floor to see if there's anything, hidden or whatever. You're like, oh, that was clever. I guess I'll give it to you. But I do, recall one guy who was in a game who at first I thought it was very clever because he had all these things on his character sheet. But then after the second or third thing, I was like, I don't think you actually have all the... Isn't it miraculous? You exactly have on your character the exact thing we need for this exact scenario. Except, I don't think you do, which gets us back to they write it down. Write it down. Have them write it down. Or if you're not a stickler for them, write it down. Just be good enough that you remember that the guy bought a block and tackle set and, a winch and a crowbar and a steamroller, so that, 3 adventures later, when he pulls out his block and tackle set and his steamroller, you're like, wait a minute, your character's been carrying a steamroller all this time? Where is that on your encumbrance? So, yeah, in closing, what's the best tip I can give you for shopping other than don't let them? I think we could break it down to don't let it dominate the game unless that's what the scenario is about. Don't have magic shops unless there is a scenario specific to somebody selling real or fake magic items. You could occasionally find a magic item, but it would be specific to the merchant, like I said, you might find a magical pair of socks at the guy who buys and sells socks, but chances are you're not going to find a broom of flying at Crazy Leon's liquor store. Though I don't know. I mean, I found some pretty weird shit at Crazy Leon's liquor store over the years. So, I mean, make sure they write it down, or make sure you write it down and have a good idea, so suddenly they're not pulling shit out of nowhere that you don't remember them ever buying, and that somehow magically they have the exact piece of equipment they needed. Oh, I've got a portable bridge. You've been carrying a portable bridge with you this whole time? Yeah. How? Where? How come I don't remember you buying it? And I sure as hell don't see it written on your character record sheet. No, you remember I had that portable bridge this whole time. How? So yeah, and then feel free once they have everything and once they've got, take it away. And please don't let the shopping dominate the game. I mean, you've heard my story of how a shopping trip completely ruined a campaign because for some reason they all thought there was one more thing they needed when literally, everything you need you either already have or we're going to find on the adventure. I mean, chances are the very first encounter is going to give us money, gear, possibly a magic item. So why do you need to go shopping? Let's just go. This is tabletop role-playing game, adventure game, not merchant sim. I don't know. That's my DM tip. Take it or leave it with a grain of salt. Either you appreciate what I have to say or you think I'm an utter failure and an idiot. Either way, I don't care because, at the end of the day, get off my land. All right, till next time, you know what to do. Happy Friday. That's it for this week. I'll see you on Monday. Yay. Hey, got any Scooby snacks?